Okay, friends, thank you very much. You've been here for quite a while with the different presentations on the gut connection. We have actually arrived to the 5th and last presentation of these seminars. Having said that, there's still so much to say, so much to tell. It reminds me of this sign. There is so many things that I would like to tell you, but there is no time left, or some of you might not be ready to receive them. Okay, the New Footsteps lecture series are designed to share valuable information with the general public. They are not to be used as a treatment for individual cases. For online appointments, visit newfootsteps.com.au. Now, we mentioned in the previous program about IBS and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. We mentioned a few pointers. Like you might have problems with certain oligosaccharides that are found in grains or legumes. You might actually have problems with disaccharides and that are feeding the wrong type of bacteria. That wrong type of bacteria excretes out toxins. Those toxins are like granites that go to the wall of your intestines. Having said that, and the fact that things like, for instance, gluten or wheat if you abstain yourself from eating wheat or gluten, you can actually improve, for instance, in conditions like IBS. It's not the entire answer. I hope you understand that. It is much, much more to it. And just as I mentioned in a few of my presentations, in order to be fair to you, the practitioner needs to know more about you, more of your triggers, etc. Okay, and in order to find out what is wrong, what is actually happening, and what are some of the contributors in that situation. So they were just pointers, just to open your research mind in a way for that. What on earth is that? Who put that slide there? Amazing! Did you change it, Nathan? Was it you? That's a high enema kit. Amazing. What is that for? Well, you fill it up with water, you put it on your nose and cleans up your nose. Is that what it is? Okay. Now, I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, probably about 20, not 20, but good 18 years ago, a friend of mine gives me a book, and it tells me about using water to actually cleaning your colon. And he says to me, there's actually a flamingo. You know the flamingo, that bird? And he's telling me, he's trying to convince me of this thing. And he goes, there's a flamingo. It has a beak. So the flamingo actually gets water from the river, and he inserts that water in the rectum, and he cleans when he's sick and so on, and he cleans the bowel, just like that. And he was trying to convince me that that thing is natural. And I said, I've got no problem with that. When God gives me a beak, I'll try. But you know what? There's another thing that is not very much natural, and is the way we eat. And is the things that we've been exposed to. And it's not natural to just be playing the note on muffins, potato soup, bread, pasta. That's not natural. Or the note here, like T-bone, bacon, eggs, and things. That's not natural either. If we only pressing that note, that's not natural either. I mean, I think it's more natural to be on this area here, more vegetables. People say, how do you know that? What makes you think that that's more natural? I say, well, okay, think about it. You have some dry vegetables in the bag. Okay, so you have some dried vegetables in your bag. And you're riding a horse in the middle of Australia. Okay? You're riding a horse in the middle of Australia. and you're not arriving to your destination. It's so far, you don't know if you're lost. You're not arriving to your destination. At what point do you think and consider about killing the horse? To eat it, of course. At what point do you actually consider eating the horse, or killing the horse to eat it? When you actually finish off all the rest of the food that you got, right? So you're not going to go and kill the horse too early when you still have vegetables to eat, right? So and then when you don't have anything, then you might consider killing the horse. So that actually tells you a little bit of sequence in the human digestion, or in the human food intake. What are the additions, or where were historically the additions to the human diet? When are you considering killing the horse? When there's nothing else of anything that is without the killing of the horse, right? So there's actually many things that we do that are not natural either. So in previous programs, I explained to you the situation. This poor lady, she's invited by the husband to go fishing on the weekend. She's gone there, she's searching for, in the middle of the wilderness, she's searching for a toilet. There's only that pit toilet there with a hole on the ground. She's not going to go there. 3 days later, she's going home, she's all bloated. If she actually takes a laxative, that will help tomorrow. So she arrives there very bloated with a tremendous headache, and she takes a laxative. The laxative will work tomorrow. But she has the headache and the bloatiness when? Now. So in that situation, guess what? The Flamingo kit here helps, because he actually opens up and the headache goes away, because he allows that cleansing. Okay? Now, I am not going to show you how to do it. There are plenty of tutorials nowadays. In the early days, I used to show people how to do it. I used to actually, for the seminars, we'll run these seminars for maybe 5 to 10 days. And people will actually come. And the majority of the people will sit at the back. And I'll start saying, at the end of the seminars, we are going to show you how to do a high enema, and I'll get a volunteer from the back. On the last day, man, they were fighting for the front seats. They were amazing. Everybody was right at the front. They were fighting here. There was no one single soul at the back. And the only thing that I wanted them to do was just to hold that little thing. And my wife made a little teddy, no, not a teddy, like a little man that you fill up with stuff, like a stuffed toy. But a big one, just like that. And we call him Christopher Columbus, because in Spanish it's called Cristobal Colón. So we thought, play of words, Colón, And we used to use Christopher Columbus, and we used to one guy was just holding it, and we were just used to do how you actually do a high enema. So nowadays, there's so many tutorials online that I'm not going to go there. But what I'm going to do is prepare a number of disclaimers and a number of pointers also in this area. Important disclaimer, there's actually people out there that they will make you right through colonics or through enemas. What you need in your life is enemas. Okay? And they will actually heal you of anything, or so they claim, just with enemas. Enemas is the solution for all your problems. Now, I don't believe that. And I don't believe that myself, and I don't think they are actually right either, okay? But there are actually some people there, righteousness by enema. You will be well made, you will be made whole with what you need is a nice cleanup. So I won't recommend you to first go through that track, and there's some practitioners there. Normally the practitioners that they have done like a 3-month course, and they've done it with a company. That this company, for $3,000, they purchased the machine from this company, and they have a little room, and they put that machine there with the water, and there's like $80 or $90 or $120, and normally they'll say that it's probably you need about 4 to 6 sessions, and I can agree with that. 4 to 6 sessions probably if needed, If the person needs it, probably that will probably be a good thing. But do not go expecting that that thing is going to do the miracle that some of those practitioners might be claiming, okay? I'm a bit apprehensive about going even to a stranger and trying to keep a straight face and said, I'm here for a Flamingo session, you know? I just had a problem with that. So the Flamingo kit here, however, is very convenient. Let me tell you something. There was one lady that would have had a great benefit with the Flamingo kit here. However, she didn't want to do anything and she had to go through an operation. She needed to do an operation. What really was strange to me was that she was willing to have an operation when you have your anesthetist there, your surgeon, your nurses, the theater technician. You got like 10 people in that room, and she is fully uncovered. And she has no apparent problem with that. When she could actually have a Flamingo kit session in the bathroom of her house, you don't need to call the neighbor. You understand that, right? And that was totally private, okay? And so there's certain things that I don't understand, you know? One of the times when I used to get a volunteer from the back, there was a guy, a friend of mine, he was a pastor. And he sat at the back, and I said, you. And he said, what are you doing? I said, you sat at the back. Sorry, I've been telling you for the last 9 days, you sat at the back, you come at the front. So he was just scared. He didn't know what I was going to do to him. So he was just holding on that little bag, okay? So it was nothing offensive or anything like that. But as we were packing up, he said to me, I will never do that thing. I said, okay, that's fine. It's not for all situations and not in all cases. But in some cases, it can actually help. He said, I will never do that. Anyway, he keeps on talking, and he tells me that on Wednesday, he has to do his first prostate checkup. And I stopped and said, you have to go to the GP and to do a prostate checkup? I said, yep. They just sent me the letter, you know, because I'm 50 and things like that. I said, so the first time, you never done it? I said, no, I don't know what they do. I said, okay, good. Can I call you on Wednesday? I said, sure. I don't know if you know what a prostate test involves, but part of the prostate test involves the doctor wearing rubber gloves. And I left the rest for your imagination. When I talked to him on the phone, the guy was appalled. He was just, how did he do it? I didn't know, man. Like, I didn't know. He said, well, who would have said you had a problem with the Flamingo and you went to the doctor for a prostate checkup? Oh man, it was so uncomfortable. So, yep. So, what are good situations for this? Well, if your husband loves fishing, that's one good situation to use the Flamingo, okay? Things like, for instance, if you everybody needs a good change of oil. So the car needs change of oil after X certain kilometers, right? So even if you're looking after your car, it will be a good idea to change the oil. So even if you're looking after yourself and you're working with natural detoxification programs of the body on a 24-hour cycle, which they are there, and in the weight connection we commented about a hormone called glucagon that is involved in that. Even if you're doing that, it's still convenient because of sometimes you get too busy, sometimes you get too stressed, sometimes you just go out of your way a little bit, sometimes you just travel overseas and you got jet lag one way and now you're going to get jet lag back and you've been eating outside your routine. For whatever reason, it's always good to every so often do like a cleanup kind of thing. So in some of those cleanups, you might do like a little detox, like a 3-day detox or something like that. What happens is that in some of these detoxes, you're changing the way you're eating, so the same stimulation of your gut is not present. So because it's not present there, your bowel is not moving the same way. So all of a sudden you feel that you get a headache. It must be all the toxins. Yeah, all the toxins that are there but are not coming out. So in that scenario, for instance, an evening high enema will be very beneficial because it's just helping those toxins to be expelled out. Okay? So in that situation, that will be probably very, very good. Now, one of the things that I will try on myself, if I have very, very high fever, will be a high enema. So that will be one of the things that I will try myself if I have a very high fever. Notice that I'm very careful in the way I'm saying things. Okay, I will try that on myself if I had a very, very high fever. Okay, so this will be probably the rough scenarios. Now, what happens is that a person might get into this, and all of a sudden, the headache goes, the bloatiness feels less bloated, whatever. So for 1 or 2 days, and then the bloatiness comes again. So what does the person do? Another one of this. And then, oh yeah, this thing works. You know, headache is gone, the bloatiness is gone, because obviously you open an exit for all the traffic. So you don't have congestion of traffic there, so you open the exit. So another 2 days, you feel good. Oh, the headache again. You do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And what happens now? You cannot do anything without it now. So you're carrying the Flamingo with you everywhere because you cannot work without it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you haven't actually solved the problem. It's like trying to walk with crutches, rather than actually allow the foot to heal. And all of a sudden 6 months have passed, and you're still with crutches. And then a year has passed, and you're still with crutches. Okay? So these are not crutches. Okay? This will fall in the same category as I show you with that potato mushroom in previous lectures, or I show you also with the sweetest bitters in a previous lecture. It will be on the same category. They are there to take you out, to help you out, but it's like a neighbor that will help you out with a jump start because your alternator in the car is not recharging your battery. So you go in the morning and you go, it's not turning on. And you realize that the battery is almost new, but the alternator that fills out the battery is broken. So you go to your neighbor and say, can you jump start me? Just fill up my battery because it's flat, because the alternator was not charging it. Can you jump start me? So all of a sudden it jump starts you, and you're just running around. Now, as you're running around, is your battery being charged? No. Not because your alternator is broken. In normal situations, yeah, it will charge, but not now that it's broken. So what happens is that then you park your car in your driveway, and the next day you knock at your neighbor's house and say, can you jump start me? And the neighbor, because he's a nice guy, will go jump start you again. But if in the third day, in the fourth day, in the fifth day, in the sixth day, you're going, can you jump start me? What is your neighbor going to say? Can you fix the alternator? Fix the alternator, right? So the jump starting will be using this in the wrong way. Are you getting it? Okay? That will be using this in the wrong way. So if this is like a jump starting situation every so often. So prebiotics and probiotics, what are they? Prebiotics are foods that feed the good bacteria. Now, I want you to take one off from that list. That list I had it previously, and I thought I'd edited it, and now and I found the word there. There's a word there that I want you to get rid of. It's on the screen, but perhaps now that I'm going to utilize the fact that it's on the screen to make a bigger impact on it. Get rid of molasses there. Okay? Get rid of the molasses there. It is a type of product that probably is not going to be in the long run a benefit. Okay? So get rid of the molasses there. Now, between slippery elm and psyllium husk, I would say slippery elm, unless psyllium husk is better for you. Why am I saying this? Because all of a sudden I started having a lot of patients that were doing better on a slippery elm, so I started putting everybody on a slippery elm until somebody said, I tried slippery elm and it's not working. I went back to psyllium husk and it works better. Who you know, huh? So all of a sudden, it's good until you come up with a guy that Doesn't work that good. Okay? So those are called prebiotics. They're also found in legumes, unless legumes are bad for you. They're found in grains, and there are certain grains are not good for you. Okay? Berries, bananas. When we're talking about bananas, we're talking about ripe bananas. When we're talking about fruit, we're talking about ripe fruits. Ripe fruits. Now, how do you ripe a stone fruit, like a nectarine or an apricot, that has been taken from the tree without ripening? And you're going to eat it, and it's tasteless. It is green. You can tell it's green, not by the color, but by the taste. And then you wait 2 weeks, and it's still green because the enzyme that ripes that stone fruit is not there because it has been taken from the tree too early. How do you ripe that one? There's a way of ripening them. You peel them and you cook them. When you cook them, it creates, the cooking moves from complex carbohydrates to simple carbohydrates. So, for instance, cooked apple is more digestible than apples that are not ripe. So there's people, for instance, on FODMAP protocols that they cannot have apples because they react, they feel bloated. They cannot have pears. They cannot have stone fruits, the old FODMAP fruits. And a lot has to do because they're not ripe properly. Sometimes when they cook them, and then they use them cooked like jams, they actually are easier to assimilate. Okay? Onion and leek, very good prebiotic, unless you eat the onion and you feel bloated because of the level of fructose and sulfur in the onion and garlic. I eat onion, I eat garlic. Some people cannot. If you have ulcerative colitis, that will probably be one item that you won't be able to eat for a while. Okay? Most probably. Okay, so that's a little bit of a list there. So green leafy vegetables, brown rice, quinoa, millet, amaranth, honey. Honey, make sure it's not contaminated with sugar. Oats, artichoke, garlic, onion and leeks, as I said, with caution, just in case you do have a fructose issue. Most vegetables, fruits, make sure that they ripe. See, the kiwi ripes because it has an enzyme in it, and it ripes, and it gets softer and softer, and it ripes. The pineapple ripes. The papaya, or you have the papaya and you have the pawpaw. Which one you have in your country? Papaya? Okay. Australia has both, papaya and pawpaw. So they ripe. Okay? Berries, you cannot actually get a blueberry green. They all come already blue or bluish. They ripe already. Okay? So with the lentils and the chickpeas, they do contain prebiotics, but you have to be very, very careful that you don't get bloated because of it, because of some of the oligosaccharides that they contain. If you don't, fantastic prebiotic food. Okay? And then we have probiotics. We have the little capsule that we take. Okay? And when we're talking capsules, you probably get a jar like that of a broad spectrum probiotic. That's a general, that's non-prescription needed, like broad spectrum probiotic. And you just take it, and normally it will be about $35. And you just take, you take the probiotics maybe for a month or so, or 2 months, whatever it lasts, or 60 days. And then probably you won't need to repeat until another 6 months. But you also have probiotic food. And on the Bacteria Connection seminars, we gave a website that I want to invite you again to visit. I don't have it on the screen, but I'll say it to you. It's called culturesforhealth.com. culturesforhealth.com. And they got a lot of recipes there for probiotic food. When I'm saying a lot of recipes, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of recipes. Okay? So this is actually something very, 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 very good to actually start introducing, because you're introducing friendly bacteria in to try to rebalance, and you introduce it in a gentle way, not in a very severe way. You don't want a third world war here. Okay? There's people that have an imbalance here, and then what they do is they read a book, And in that book talks about kefir. 34 to 44 different strains of probiotic and yeast. And then go and they drink it. And now what you just done is you just put the US Marines into Iraq. Big conflict. Further bloating. Diarrhea for the dying off effect. That's when the bacteria dies off, releases toxins, and your body actually produces diarrhea because of it. So just be careful that sometimes in a book, the books become blueprints. But blueprints are not necessarily applying in all situations and in all circumstances. Okay? So they give you an idea, but just be careful of that. Now, some colon detox samples, and just give you one sample, for instance. The 1 day a week fast, which one is that? Well, you can just choose 1 day a week in which that day you will just either drink water or for an entire day. Or you just go and eat just vegetables for the entire day. It's like a day of just vegetables. Vegetables for breakfast, vegetables for lunch, vegetables for dinner. Or it can be like vegetable soup for breakfast, vegetable soup for lunch, vegetable soup for dinner. Okay? That would probably be much better than a fruit day in many cases. Probably not in my case, but in some cases, especially if you have diabetes, okay, and you have a problem assimilating, a problem with insulin resistance condition or a metabolic syndrome, if you just use that day for fruit fasting, you might just go like a roller coaster in your demeanor, in your energy levels. So you eat that apple, you feel very good, and then you feel very low. Okay? So that can be actually a detox, once a week detox. The grape fast. How many of you have heard of the grape fast? So what do you eat for the next 5 days? 3 days, what do you eat? Grapes. What type of grapes? Black grapes with what in them? With the seed in them. And what do you do with the seed? You make sure you chew it because it has tartar acid, which is actually very, very helpful to get rid of many of the material, the old fecal matter that is inside here. Now, careful. You do it for 3 days, you will not like to see a grape nearby for months or years. Because I had people saying, I love grapes, I'm sure that there's not, yeah, you love grapes the first day, but you'll see the third day. You just don't want it. You just don't want it, okay? Now, in regards to this, I would definitely not recommend any longer than 5 days, and I definitely recommend you to visit your health practitioner if you have any condition that we should be aware of, such as diabetes, for instance, because these are very sugary, okay? They are very sugary. So just bear in mind, use your common sense, okay? These I'm just putting you examples. So I have done this one. I've done it twice. And even today, to this day, if you have light grape or the black grape, I'll just go for the light grape. Even now, like if you have put some grapes there, I'll just go for the light one. I had a very amazing cleanup, very amazing detox. It's just that I didn't want to have anything to do with grapes for the rest of my life. I didn't do it for 3 days. I did it for 7 days. And I actually, the reason why I stopped is because I said to my wife that I was going to do it for 7 days. Now, that was when I was crazy. Now my sense has come upon me. That was very many years ago. That was the first time that I did it. And I did it for 7 days. I do not, in normal circumstances, I will not even go any longer than 5 days. Definitely not any longer than 5 days. So for any of the detoxes that we're going to mention here, I will just do like a preparation day on the Sunday, and I will just do the 5 days maximum. So you can go 1 day, you can do 2 days, 3 days, maximum 5 days, and then I will just, on the Saturday, I will just have a rest, and I will just complete my, very easy return to normal diet, with some soups and things like that. And that's how I will do it. That will be the maximum. But that time I did it for the first time I did it for 7 days, then some sense came upon me, and then the next one I did it for 5 days. I haven't done that one for the last, at least 13 years. When I did it for 7 days, the first 3 days were very bad. Headache, very bad. By the 7th day, I was so energetic that I said to my wife, oh, I found the truth. I can live on this. I've got so much energy, etc., etc. And it was my wife said, no, you said 7 days, you stop it. But if you follow your senses at the 7th day, you actually feel very good. But it's a deception because you are going to start losing muscle. You are going to start creating, the body has to start switching back some of the food resources, and it goes from fat to muscle, etc., from tissue, etc., etc. Okay? So in normal circumstances, without the supervision of a health professional, I will never go or recommend anyone to go more than 5 days. Okay? This is a nice, challenging one. Now, the watermelon flask. Who is not going to do that one? If you got fructose intolerance, of course, you already know that watermelon is not your friend. If you have diabetes, you probably won't do this one. And you'll probably do this one for 3 days. If you're inclined to do that and you want to look into that further. And what will actually happen in both in the grape fast and the watermelon fast is that you don't have enough stimulation of food here because you don't have, so that's when the evening the evening flamingo comes very handy for 3 days. Okay, so that's a situation in which you take the dust of the flamingo and you use it. The carrot juice fast. Now, I need to mention something here. The carrot juice fast, it contains a lot of glucose accumulated there. A lot of sugar is in there. So even people with diabetes need to be very, very careful with this without supervision. One of the things that you can actually do is when you take it, you can take it, for instance, there's actually recipes for carrot juice in which you introduce a certain amount of Ceylon cinnamon. So Ceylon cinnamon or Sri Lankan cinnamon is the same thing. It's also called true cinnamon. It's actually one that mimics the effects of insulin. So that way, you drink in the juice, you get in the benefit of the juice, but you don't have that so much insulin being secreted. Okay? Ceylon cinnamon, recommended for the ones that don't have diabetes, just to make it more effective, because the people with diabetes will have some issues and they need to be consulting a health professional in order to do something like this. Okay? So it's called Ceylon cinnamon, C-E-Y-L-O-N, C-E-Y-L-O-N, Ceylon. Chlorophyll diet, what is that? That's when you actually have grass. Like a gentleman called Nebuchadnezzar. He was the one that invented the first grass detox. Chlorophyll diet. So that's the wheatgrass, the barley grass, the alfalfa, all those green things. Especially if you have them nice and fresh. If you have like a wheatgrass structure. And you get that juice, and when you smell it, it is a whoa, that's pure chlorophyll. It's like you are one-to-one with nature, and you imagine that you are right so close from the grass, and a cow is next to you when you smell that thing. It's so powerful, so powerful. It contains a lot of protein. It doesn't actually rise up the sugar the same that carrot does. It's a very powerful thing. You can do this just for 1 day. And it's a nice tune-up, like a change of oil type of thing. Okay? Particularly if you actually have it fresh. So rather than just the powder, the dehydrated powder form, but the proper one. And you don't need that much each time. You just need something like that. Okay? So you just drink it. That thing is extremely powerful. I mean, there's cows that eat just that, and they end up with 700 kilos. Okay? So this has a lot of nutrients, condensed, very, very condensed nutrients. The apple fast. Guess what are you going to eat for a number of days? Apples. For breakfast? Apples. Lunch? Apples. And dinner? Apples. Unless you are in a FODMAP diet or FODMAP protocol, or you have any fructose issue, or you have any disaccharide condition, or a disaccharide issue, an issue with disaccharides, I should say. Okay? So you can do it for a number of days. The brown rice diet, what are you going to have for breakfast? And for lunch? And for dinner? Okay, you can go up to 5 days with it. Normally people get bored of it. Okay? Make sure you cook it well. It has to be well cooked. You can cook it like a pasta. So you boil in water and you put the brown rice like that. It actually cooks further that way. So you can cook it like pasta rather than the absorption method in this case. The commercial colon detoxes. Have you seen them? So you just go to the health food shop and you go, do this for 2 weeks and your health will be fully restored. Now, ignore that last part completely, but do it for a week or whatever, and it's going to be a little bit of a nice tune-up. It's going to be, and there's many out there, many copies of copies, etc. Okay? So there's many ones. There's one that is called Formula 1, Formula 2, and there's actually different products that have the same kind of procedure, Formula 1, Formula 2. So one of them is kind of like a moving formula, so it will get you going to the toilet, and it will just will have some bitters in them, so it stimulates the liver cleanse too, with bile formation and so on. So you are changing the oil here, you know, just changing the oil in the liver, and it will go further down. And then the Formula 2 formula normally will have some type of absorbance. So one is moving the toxins out, and the other one is just grabbing it, absorbing all those toxins. So one absorbs the toxins and the other one pushes them out. Normally works in 2 formulas, okay? So when you go to any of those detoxes, they'll probably have 2 formulas. One that you take at a certain time of the day, and the other one that you take another time of the day. Things that will have in them, some will have like psyllium husk in it, that will be the absorption formula. Some will have clay in them, like green clay in it, or bentonite clay. And the other will have things like cascara sagrada and things like that. Now, what I would like you to understand, or at least from my point of view, is just disregard the actual claim that this is going to be like a cure and rescue for your life. Just take it as, I'm just having a change of oil. Okay? Because what really changed your life is what you do consistently and, you know, one day in, day out. That's what actually changes your life. Not 10 days, not 5 days. Okay? Because what actually happens is that people, for instance, after a colon detox or fast, it is recommended to introduce good prebiotic food into the diet. I would probably suggest to break a fast, you probably want to have like a day of vegetable soups. That will be the day that you finish the fast, especially if you had more than 1 day, of course. If you had 3 days, just some vegetable soups. I mean, a vegetable soup day can actually already be a nice detox. But if you've done some kind of fasting with the things that I've done, as I mentioned here, and one of them could just be water, by the way, and I will not recommend water fast for longer than 72 hours. Water fast definitely no longer than 72 hours, because the other products there, they will give you a level of protein. But if you don't have any protein in 72 hours, the body is going to get the protein from somewhere to do your body functions, and it's going to get it from your muscle. Okay? So definitely no more than 3 if you ever go into a water fast. Make sure that you talk to somebody that knows about it. Okay? But a good thing to break it will probably be a nice soup day. A nice soup day will be a nice way of breaking a water fast in this case. So probiotic supplementation is recommended at least during the first month after a colon detox or fast. Why? Because while you're actually doing the detox and you're doing this cleanup, at the same time you are not feeding the wrong fellas. The wrong bacteria is starving, so they die. So many of the things that actually is poured out is dead bacteria, and they're poisons. So now you're creating a little bit of an empty space to bring good quality bacteria in. So it's the ideal time to actually put probiotic. So you do a tune-up, you do the oil change, and then for the next month you take in probiotics every day just to be rebalancing a little bit your system. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. Now, remember, every fast should be broken carefully, reintroducing your vow to regular meals with fresh vegetable salads, lightly steamed vegetables and fruit for the next 1 or 2 days. And in fact, I would probably be more inclined to say vegetable soups will probably be even better. Okay? Many of the commercial laxatives are not recommended for a good colon health. There's a number of things that are very well used up in the market, and one of them is actually laxatives. Okay? Laxatives is one of the medicines or drugs that are sold the most in chemists and pharmacies around the world. Laxatives. Is that telling us something? Herbal laxatives are of benefit during a cleansed process or punctual situations. Remember, never get into the laxative habit. Even herbal laxatives clean your colon and change your lifestyle. So people say, no, well, I can take this because it's a formula of Dr. such and such, and it's very, very good, and you have to take it every day to go? That doesn't sound right. Okay, that doesn't sound right. I actually got a little mini trampoline in the house that I show you in other lectures. A mini trampoline. I bought it from America, and you jump in a trampoline, and you got a particular exercise in which you jump in a trampoline, and you're doing this exercise, right, in trampoline. So you're bouncing, and as you're bouncing like this, you're stimulating all this area here, all the peristaltic movement, and the gallbladder, and the liver. So you're doing like this, and you're jumping in a trampoline, so you got this bouncing effect, no jarring, okay? And I know of a lady that had been taking for 14 years these nice little capsules, they're all herbal, every day to go to the toilet. It must be herbal, but there's something wrong. You depended on them. She stops, she doesn't go. Guess what? She got into the trampoline, and she started just every morning she will do this in trampoline, and she stopped the capsules. Because the problem was that she was not moving. So something else had to move her because she was not moving. So many will go back into the old habits soon after the detox. The initial benefits will be lost. Bear in mind, this is just a change of oil. It's not a cure-all. Many do a detox halfway, obtaining halfway results. Remember, after a detox, and especially after a fast period, you want to start introducing healthy foods in a gentle manner. Break the fast wisely. We did years ago what we called a prayer and fasting 3 days. We invited a number of young people, and among those young people, there were a number of people from the islands, from some of the Pacific islands, big youngsters, you know. It was the first time they were so proud of themselves, you know. The first time that they prayed and fasted for 3 days, they were over the moon. It was a challenge, you know, and they accomplished that challenge. So then we invited them to our house to break the fast. And these youngsters came into our house, and we had just a little fruit, you know, some vegetable soup, all blended up and so on. They look at each other and say, that's nice, you know, they're drinking and whatever. And what they did is that's not what they were expecting to break the fast. They worked so hard. That's not what they were expecting. So they finished that. They said, okay, see you, Oscar and Veronica. That was very nice. They got into the car and they went to the next town, and they went to McDonald's to celebrate. The next day, they were all sick. All sick. That's not breaking the fast wisely, okay? So we're going to finalize the enemies. Do it delta. And it is a very big enemy. There's only a couple of slides left, by the way. So we're almost done. Now, it's not America, it's you. The biggest enemy is me. Many times I am hindering my health myself, okay? Because of what I do or what I fail to do, okay? So at the end of the day, I need to take responsibility to my own actions, okay? And understand what I want to do and why I do what I do, okay? Now, I want you to remember that the colon needs water, proper stimulation, and exercise in order to do its work properly. Make sure that before you go home, you drink a nice glass of water today. It has been a pleasure to have you. Please get in contact. Tell me how you're going. If you have any good testimony after watching the whole DVD series, not just of this one, but of all the others that we have with the gluten connection, the bacterial connection, the weight connection, especially the weight connection. I want to hear your successful stories when your weight started coming down. Let me know. Send me an email and say you came to our country, you share that, and I just want to tell you this is my story. Tell us about it. We'll love to hear it. Okay? Besides that, may God bless you, and thank you for coming.
Amen.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to ask about, you talked about sprout inhibitors with beans.
Yeah.
And I just want to know about sprouting. Does that get rid of the inhibitors?
Okay. Sprouting, does the sprouting get rid of the inhibitors? It depends also. Why am I saying that? In some cases, not necessarily. In some cases, a person can actually have less trouble soaking the chickpeas and actually cooking the chickpeas, and that process of the cooking with all the froth that comes up and so on will get rid of sometimes more of the inhibitors that actually sprouting. And there will be people that will do a raw hummus because it's more healthy and they are bloated. And they do the cooked hummus and they are not. So with the sprouts, we also have to be aware that there's certain sprouts that come from legumes that can still be very hard on the person. So the smaller sprouts, like the master sprout or the alfalfa sprouts and things like that, they seem to be much gentler for people. And when we're saying that, even the proportion, so you want to, if you're making a sandwich, you put a little bit of the sprouts there, rather than just having an entire sprout salad. Don't they have more nutrients? Yes. Don't they have more protein? Yes. Don't they have? Yes. But can your body handle it? It's a different story. Okay? So one thing is what the lab is telling, and the other thing is what your stomach is telling. And just because a person can handle it, that doesn't mean that everybody else can handle it in the same way. So the story of the hummus, well, it is repeated by many, many of my patients. You know, I thought I was doing it the best way possible, so I sprouted it, and actually more bloated because I sprouted the beans or the chickpeas to make the hummus than when I actually cooked them. So sometimes yes, and sometimes no.
Carrot juice, how the fasting, how many days?
Okay, again, none of the fasting that I would recommend, I will even mention on a video, will be any longer than 5 days. Now, there is a beautiful documentary that is entitled Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. The guy actually does juice fasting for how long? 60 days. Does he do it by himself? No, he actually has Dr. Fulham that appears, that is the guy that appears in the beginning. He's doing blood tests and things like that. He has continuous monitoring. And that doctor only agreed to that as long as in his trip through America, as he's doing his 60 days of fasting, he has continuous monitoring, blood tests, etc., etc. Now, that guy, yes, he did 60 days, but he was monitored. Okay? And he was monitored. So I will just say between 3 days and maximum 5. So you have like a preparation day on the Sunday with maybe a soup day or just steamed vegetable day or whatever, and then you just go 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. I will actually say, you say, okay, if you're going to go into a fast such as that, go with the mentality of, if I do 2 days and I feel that that's enough, you can stop and you don't feel guilty that you haven't accomplished. You know what I mean? And I will actually recommend also the Ceylon cinnamon to lower down that insulin output.
Blackstrap molasses. You talk about molasses, it's not good. How is it?
Okay, currently I'll take it out. I mean, I had it there in the past, and I thought I got rid of it, but I had it there in the past. It has a lot of nutrients in it, but in terms of the gut, if a person feels that he needs to do a gut detox or a colon detox, or there's a level of imbalance here, we're still talking about these saccharides in the molasses. So it has iron in it, it has zinc in it, it has many other products in it, but it has disaccharides, which actually is what sugar has. Sugar has disaccharides too. So disaccharides will feed a type of bacteria that will be more prone for unbalanced. So if we want to create balance, in one way that blackstrap molasses, we're giving nutrients, but we still continue to feed the bacteria because it's a disaccharide.
It's not good to use it.
I don't recommend it anymore. I don't recommend it anymore. Like for a detox or something like that, you know. The occasional thing, for sure. You know, the once in a blue moon kind of thing, for sure. But as a whole, I don't recommend it. I used to, but I don't.
Many doctors are recommending to use the human chorionic gonadotrophins.
Yeah.
Is possible to use it, or could be some help, or could be dangerous?
There is actually a number of products out there that stimulates a number of metabolisms in the body that seem to be slowing down at certain age. I will actually say consult with your professional with that, because there's a lot of things that actually are used that the ones that are actually promoting them are the ones that have the testimonies. You understand what I'm saying by that? So the same people that are promoting it are the same people that have the testimonies. What you want to get is people that are promoting it because the testimonies are everywhere, not just coming from them. So I would just be aware that go to the people that are prescribing them and inform yourself very clearly on that. You know, there's even nowadays testosterone injections, because obviously at the age of 40 your testosterone starts going down. I can't recommend that. You know, there's a reason why the testosterone goes down, but at the same time there's a way of trying to increase it in a much natural way without injections. Now there are doctors actually that are prescribing testosterone injections. Others are just crazy because they say, well, your prostate is just going to go ballistic. So unfortunately there's a lot of roads out there. There's a lot of confusion. Okay, and I'm not claiming to be the road either. Okay, before I used to put molasses there. Now I come to a conclusion that I wouldn't put molasses there. You know, we're learning. As I said to my son, when you're 16, you know it all. I wish I was 16 again. Then sort of you notice that you're losing a little bit when you get a bit more understanding. You know, roughly around 30, you realize that, man, I don't know that much. And when you start getting to 30, 35, 37, 40, then you realize that not just that you don't know that much, but you don't know anything. So when you're from anywhere between 16 to about 25 or so, you know, these are the golden years. It's the golden years. You haven't been hit by life's heart. You haven't lost loved ones. You haven't, you know, or you haven't gone through disappointments that really are life-changing disappointments. So you know it all. I mean, I wish we could all live in that bracket of time. But for everyone else, we just have to be observant and try our best as we read through material. There's a lot of scams out there. People claiming many things, and there's a lot of commercial interest there. Question?
I have a questions about canned food you got in market, like can of pea, can of chickpeas. They have liquids in it. I know you can do certain things with those juice, but is it?
So you're talking about like a can of chickpeas? Yeah. Okay. So technically, and I actually visit a factory because I wanted to actually make sure that I see where things have food is produced and so on. So when I'm talking about, for instance, protein powders, I actually know where they come from. I know actually I've seen the process or how they come from. When we're talking about molasses, I know where molasses come from and the centrifugal process of it. And when I'm talking about yeast flakes, I know where, you know, yeast flakes is a derivative of molasses. So I know where it comes from. So I actually visit a factory that does that. Now, the factory that I visit, they actually soaked the peas. The chickpeas are soaked in a huge, you can imagine, huge cookers. And then they open big valves from the bottom, and it's this great river of inhibitors are flashing out. And then they actually, in this particular one, they warm it up a little bit. They don't cook it, they warm it up. And then they just, through the process, they put it in the cans, they seal it, and then the actual rest of it is actually cooked inside the can. So they cook it inside the can. And you will think that there's still a lot of inhibitors. So just to make it more complicated, I'll tell you this. Two patients. Patient number one, soak chickpeas made at home from organic chickpeas, cooked, get rid of the water, eaten, no problem. Can chickpeas of a particular brand that I send them to, bloated. Now, look at this. Patient number two. Cook, home cook, soak chickpeas in the house, bloated. That particular same can, cooking it, eating it, not bloated. Did I answer your question, or I just left you like hours? Okay. Okay, so they normally cooked, or at least this factory was actually cooking it in the can. There was another question in here. Yeah.
Would you recommend lemonade diet? It's a combination of fresh lemon, maple syrup, and cayenne pepper.
Okay, and you're doing that for how long?
7 days or 5 days.
Okay. That's actually, so that element as such, it has been used, for instance, as a kidney detox, especially for people with kidney stones and things like that, and also as an alkalinized kind of diet. Now, that means that you're very much running on a water fast. So from my point of view, I wouldn't go more than 72 hours, from my point of view, okay? Bear in mind that if we're going to recover, sometimes if we have built up 40 years of the wrong, it's our desire to, in 7 days, we're just going to, but most of the time, in my experience, it doesn't work that way. Little attentions often tend to actually take you longer. So you can always do the 3 days and do the 3 days later on. You know what I mean? But anything over 72 hours tend to shift the energy source from the body to muscle. And we have to be very careful with that. Okay.
When would you eat the vitamins? With the meal, before the meal or after, like the vitamin A, B, C, D, and omega and multi?
Okay, so I don't use multis, okay? I don't use multivitamins. I use vitamins if I need them. Like if a person is deficient in vitamin D or if a person is deficient in vitamin B12, I will just tell them when to eat them. But I don't do multis. And when you actually, for instance, if a person is deficient in zinc, you probably need to start taking, if it is deficient, you probably need to start taking from 30 milligrams to up to 70 milligrams or so. When you look into a multi for zinc, you're looking at 5 milligrams. Now, some of these formulas of multis, they're not even care, and some of them are just on a mineral form rather than on a chelate form, which means in a chelate form, they need an amino acid transporter to get inside the body, and there's plenty of amino acid transporters. But they use a mineral transporter, which means that depending on what you got more, the biggest value, that normally will be a magnesium or a calcium type, it just saturates the transporters, so there's no more taxis to bring them in, and everything else, it just goes out. Now, if you take a multi and your urine changed color, has anybody actually take a multivitamin and the urine changed color? Okay. I was going to say, how do I say it diplomatically? You are actually urinating your vitamins. That's why it changed the color. You urinated. Not because taking vitamins is wrong, but because you put 20, it's like they throw 20 up there and see what sticks. And a lot of that actually spit out. So I don't do multis. I actually ascertain what is the deficiency, and then we target the deficiency. And some things cannot be taken with certain things. So if the person is on 3 supplements, I'll say, okay, would you make sure your vitamin D is taken in the morning, because some people take it at night and interferes with the sleep. Other people don't, but in some people interferes with the sleep. So make sure just to keep, because I had people that took it at night and were sleeping well, and others that were taking it at night and they were sleeping bad, I'll say, okay, everybody in the morning. You know, it gets complicated. So everybody in the morning, vitamin D in the morning, and things like that. So vitamin B12, for instance, methylcobalamin, I'll say before you go to sleep, you put it under your tongue or you spray it, and it has to be a methylcobalamin. And I'll say before you go to sleep, after you brush your teeth, and things like that. So routines to put them on. So I don't do multis.
I just had a question in regards to hormones and related to the bowel as a woman goes into menopause. Yep. That's something that I've noticed personally. The changes. Is it just, do you work more on the hormones, or do you, because it wasn't prior to that, now it is with the hormones?
There is definitely a level of hormones. I mean, any woman will tell you that when the period comes, when the period is about to come, the day before or on the day, the bowel movement changes. Whatever it was there before, all changes. In fact, there's a theory that says that women actually live longer as an average than men because they have a monthly detox. So they have a monthly detox. So definitely hormones are changing that. So what actually happens then is that some of that stimulation that has been changing monthly and has allowed you to do that detox, all of a sudden you enter into menopause, and all of a sudden you're skipping a bit. The bit is skipped. And what actually happens is this is the best time for women to start exercises. Now, the woman is thinking, I'm 49, I'm 52, or whatever, I'm just too old for exercise. Guess what? It's the best time for exercise. Best time, because now you don't have the monthly detox. You need to get rid of those toxins somehow. Get sweating, okay, and get moving, because all of a sudden you're skipping a bit, and that stimulation of that detox is not happening. Yeah.
I want to ask is for detox, for use the chlorophyll, how to do this detox? Okay. And the second question is only one day can detox. Why so fast use chlorophyll?
Oh, only one day can detox, even if you're just having soup. Now the question is not if you can detox. It's obviously what is the amount that you're detoxing. Okay, there is a level of detoxing. Obviously, the longer you do it, appears to be better, but then it comes to a point in which you're detoxing. You keep on detoxing, and all of a sudden you're eating muscle, and it's counterproductive. So with 1 day of soups, you will detox. Now, the question is how much? And there's some people that actually have a liver that cannot handle a long detox or a severe detox, because all of a sudden the body goes, boom, let's go to put all the toxins. All the toxins will have to be metabolized first by the liver, and the beta just sort of shuts down, okay? So with the chlorophyll, it's very, very powerful because it's very, very concentrated. So the best way is actually like you have like wheatgrass. The wheatgrass doesn't have gluten, by the way, it's just the grass. Or barley grass or things like that. And you just cut it with the scissors and you put it through a machine. Now, you've already seen that this is going to be complicated. Hold on. I need to actually plant something. Now, there are companies that you can actually purchase a few trays. So if you're going to do the detox, you can purchase the trays and they're already ready for you. You just purchase for 3 days and you got it ready for you. But you also need a machine that can actually do that.
Can we use just this powder by the...
Yeah, so the other alternative is going to be the powder. So obviously the fresh one is the real potent one, okay? There's a huge, huge difference, huge. So let's say if we're looking at 100% effectiveness with the fresh, with the powder, we're looking at maybe a 15%. That's how much you lose of the effectiveness from the fresh to the powder. So you still got a good 15% effectiveness, but there is a huge difference. So then you can do it in the powder form. Yeah. Okay. This one over there.
about metabolic syndrome that is getting quite prevalent and the relation with corn syrup of high fructose.
Yeah.
What is because now this syrup is getting in the majority of bread and the majority of foods where is the sweetener of most use.
Yeah.
But it seems that it's related with metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is fine. Corn syrup, that's fine. And the one interesting thing that you mentioned is actually even in breads and cakes and things like that. So don't think it's just in soft drinks. It's actually finding its way all throughout. And it actually inhibits further the satisfaction receptors from carbohydrates, which are already pretty much none in the stomach. And now you actually tend to consume more of that. So what it actually produces is further insulin release and a more that insulin resistance and the entire changes that start affecting the pancreas, your adrenals, and your thyroid. It's becoming very, very dangerous, but you actually have people suffering from metabolic syndrome that consume a diet that is not high in corn syrup, in corn syrup, for instance. It's just the average high carbohydrate diet can actually give you metabolic syndrome. So you don't actually need to be on corn syrup to get into a metabolic syndrome. You can just be on a high carbohydrate grain, refined grains and potatoes, lots of them, muffins and things like that, and you get to that too.
What are your thoughts on digestive enzymes?
Great question. Great question. Fantastic. Thank you very much for bringing it up. Okay, digestive enzymes. You are born with a bottle of a bottle of enzymes. That bottle is your ancestry. So your parents gave you a bottle. So some of you have a bottle like this, other ones have a bottle like this, other ones have a bottle like this. Okay? So as life goes on, your enzymes, any enzyme in the body, it seems like it's just diminishing in number. When you get to 65, you're going on the red. You're going on the, the light on the dashboard is coming. Okay? So then you see from 65 onward a very rapid loss of muscle in elderly. Very rapid muscle loss. But they haven't necessarily changed their diet. But it's now the ability to absorb that protein, or the ability to absorb that fat, or the ability to absorb those carbohydrates has been diminished because the number of digested enzymes has also been diminished. So I'll tell you what I'll do when I'm 65. I'm going to actually get digested enzymes with every meal and I'm going to eat it. Which digested enzymes? I probably won't get the cheap versions like papain and bromelain, okay, which comes from the pineapple and the papaya. I'll probably get much better versions that are out there. And off camera, I'll tell you where to look for. Okay? Now, that's in regards to natural progress or no progress in most life. 65, if I am 65, every breakfast will be with digested enzyme, lunch with a digested enzyme, dinner with a digested enzyme, because naturally speaking, I am down there on the digested enzymes. And I don't want to lose any muscle. Okay? And I will start losing muscle. That's what you see in retirement villages. Muscle is gone. And they're eating, the cooks there, those menus are addressed by nutritionists, and they are balanced. But one thing is what they eat, the other thing is what they absorb. Okay? Now, from another point of view, if the person, for instance, has wall or intestinal damage, okay, now you have a wall that has been damaged. Behind that wall, you have some cells that secrete mucus. And if you got bacteria releasing toxins and throwing grenades here, is continuously being hit. So what actually happens is that these cells from behind secrete mucus. So that mucus is actually covering the wall as a defensive mechanism. Some people then they pass mucus in the stools. Now that is a defensive mechanism, but now we made it worse in a way, because from behind also is where the digested enzymes are secreted. Now you got the food here, coming here in order to be digested, and now the digested enzymes are trapped into the mucus layer. So you got less digested enzymes that are reaching the target. So in order to, one of the things to increase healing prognosis is you eat the digestive enzyme with the food. Why? Because now that digestive enzyme that cannot reach it, which is your natural digestive enzyme, cannot reach it, but you put in now digestive enzyme with the food here, with the food meant to be digested. Okay? So the idea is that you actually you actually make an appointment with us, and we'll put you in a protocol in which the damage, so the people are, these bacteria stopping throwing the grenades here. Then when the survival mechanism stops and say, hold on, nobody's attacking us anymore, then the mucus starts proceeding. And then you use your own digestive enzymes for that. But many people will need digestive enzymes mainly because there's a damage, and because there's a damage, there's a protective layer of mucus that is now giving you an inability to do that. The amount of people that come to see me and I'll put them on digestive enzymes and they've been suffering for 7 years and they said, that sounds so simple. For 7 years I've been visiting people. Why nobody thought about digestive enzyme? That seems the most logical thing to do. I cannot digest my food. Digestive enzymes. Great question. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, one here and probably one last one.
Thank you. Could you please explain coffee, what you said about coffee and the stomach?
Okay, coffee. Well, the coffee topic is a very broad one, but one of the things that coffee does, it alters the pH of your stomach. So the stomach needs to have a pH of 2. That pH of 2 is necessary to pre-digest protein. Okay, so because now you have an element like coffee that is altering the pH, you're going to have a bigger struggle in order to digest your protein. So when you have a struggle pre-digesting your stomach and your stomach, all of a sudden that protein goes further to places in a form that didn't meant to get there in such a form. So then putrefying bacteria gets activated and deals with it, which it creates gas, it creates odor and things like that. In fact, when you go through Australia in the road in summer, you have this smell on the road, very awful smell, and you know that somebody has hit a kangaroo or wombat the night before, and the heat is just, you know what smells? It's actually decaying protein. That's what it smells. The decaying protein in the blood, the decaying protein in the tissue, that's what it actually smells. So some of us have a dead kangaroo inside. And if you don't know who it is, like you might just go, just go to the toilet and you call your wife and you ask your wife, do you think I got a dead kangaroo inside? And depending on the smell, your wife might tell you. Sometimes your wife might love you too much and might not tell you the truth. Then you need to have a very balanced approach. So call your neighbor. Okay? If your neighbor remembers the name of your parents as he coming into the bathroom, then you got a dead kangaroo inside. That means that protein is actually bypassing the stomach and is arriving to areas where it's feeding bacteria rather than yourself. Okay? So we'll probably leave it as it is now. Thank you very much for your attendance. It has been great getting to know you, and all the best. Thank you.